Welcome back to another episode of the Deep Dive English podcast. My name is Sam.
My name is Anna.
And today we will be talking about learning English inside an online community. I have been an English teacher for over 7 years, and for 2 of those years, I have been teaching and helping English learners learn English and improve their fluency and spoken confidence in online communities. And Anna, you were one of the first members in my community, so you have been learning English inside an online community for about 2 years as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think that I joined when did I join? July? August? In August, I think.
Yeah, I think so. 2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago.
July, August, maybe.
Yeah, so I was pretty lucky to find you in the very beginning, almost the very beginning of you being the community owner. And yeah, I joined. And it's been almost 2 years. Hard to believe it.
And here we are today. After 2 years, we have a podcast together. We've met up in real life twice in the space of a week, but still twice. And we're here today. So a lot has changed since when you first joined. And I guess, Anna, I will ask you like a very direct question, which is, why is learning English, or any skill really, good inside an online community? And why is it different from learning on your own? And why is it different from learning, I don't know, in a traditional way, maybe going to a school or working with a tutor? What's the differences and what are the benefits?
It's a broad question, really. There is so many aspects to it. So to me personally, from my personal experience, I used to learn German before. In terms of languages, I used to learn German at school. It wasn't very effective since it took 8 years of my education, I think, and I didn't make it to any good level, like any communication, any speaking, any understanding from listening. So not very effective. I also learned English grammar for 3 years, and it also didn't take me anywhere close to be able to speak. So my school experience of learning English or any language is not very, it didn't seem very effective. Probably because it was very focused on like polishing grammar and like remembering the grammar rules, not much about the practical skills. So I don't know how it looks in like other schools. I can't really tell much, but from what I heard, it's quite universal experience that people learn how to write correctly, but not that much how to use the language. Before I joined your community, I started learning on my own. I started listening to a lot of materials from YouTube mostly, or audiobooks and podcasts. And I got to a point where I was able to understand quite a lot, but I couldn't make myself really to speak. I tried speaking a little with to my husband. We played board games, but it was still very, very limited, still quite stressful, very awkward. And well, I made those first steps towards speaking on my own, but I couldn't feel like it's taking me like far away or like far forward with, towards being able to speak fluently. And this is when I discovered your podcast first, and then you shared the information of your community. So I decided to join. And yeah, I would say that it changed so much, because finally I was able to communicate with people who the only way to communicate with them was to speak English, because they spoke other languages and we weren't able to talk or to communicate in any other way than speaking English. So it makes it, there's no excuse at this point you can't switch to your native language because they will never understand you in this way. So yeah, I would say this is the first thing. If you take a step towards like putting yourself in a situation where you have to use the language that you are trying to learn, I would say that it's a very crucial step towards being able to express yourself in the language.
Yeah, you raise a really interesting point there, which I probably haven't thought about that much, to be honest, is that when you have an international community, it is full of people from different countries that speak different languages. Therefore, you're not going to have a shared language, but your shared language is English, even though it might not be perfect, or neither of your two or in the group native language. It's still the best language that you can all communicate in. So if you are trying to share experiences, share your ideas, or share something about yourself or your culture, you kind of have to use English. And if you do start speaking in your native language, if you start speaking Polish to someone from Argentina or Spain, they're going to be like, I have literally no idea what you're saying. So you have to kind of like speak in English, which is like you said, a really huge benefit. And maybe one of the problems with speaking English with a tutor from your own country. So imagine if you were learning English with someone who was Polish. If their English was great, that's absolutely no problem. But occasionally you might slip into a bit of Polish. Or if you go to one of those language exchanges, for example, in lots of cities and towns, people meet up and they do a language exchange, or they practice a specific language. So I can imagine in a city like Madrid or something, you can go to a place and you can speak English with lots of English learners. But there'll probably be quite a few Spanish people there. And if you are Spanish, you'll slip into a bit of Spanish occasionally, even when you're doing kind of like the introductions or the goodbyes, or maybe when you can't explain something, you might just switch to Spanish because your native language, because it's just easier and there's no friction there. But with trying to find a way to explain it in English, there's a lot of friction there. It's difficult. So not actually having the option of being able to speak in your native language is probably really powerful. Like if you want to explain something to me, Anna, you have to use English because I know no words in Polish, like zero. I actually don't know a single word in Polish. So like you are forced to speak English, which is very beneficial, which I didn't really think about that much, to be honest, but you raise an important point. You are forced to speak English. That's great. So what about the experience of learning with other English learners? Because sometimes learning a skill, learning a language can be quite lonely, especially, if you live in a city and maybe you work in a company that speaks English often, you'll probably have a few colleagues who are also learning English, and maybe there's a bit of a shared experience. But if you don't, and you're learning by yourself, or maybe for a hobby, or you work remotely, it can be quite lonely. So, what's been your experience of learning in a big group, or maybe even an intimate group? But what's been your experience like that?
So I discovered that it's really a lot of fun to meet people especially from other countries, because their reality is at least slightly different from your own reality. So their experience of anything in life will be different. So you can compare your experiences and you can talk about it, and you can learn from them how to overcome certain challenges, or what is a different approach to some celebrations, to some problems in life. Also, like, what are their struggles, or what their country do better. So there is so many things that you can learn from there. And one thing that I found really cool is when you meet people from other countries. They are like, we all have our specific accents in English. So I come from Poland, so I probably speak with at least a bit, or probably more, depending on how stressed I am, of Polish accent. And people from other countries, usually you can tell a little what country they come from, because they have the accent, or they make very like specific mistakes. And I feel like if in this multinational group, you don't reinforce your own accent or your own like personal mistakes, or the specific mistakes for your country or for your language. It doesn't reinforce these mistakes and these problems. It helps you. I think that it helps you like learn more efficiently and like learn to be understood better, because I feel like with the regional accents, like if I would speak with a Polish person and they would make certain mistakes, like me coming from the same country and speaking the same language, native language, I would probably understand them better, or I would know where these mistakes come from. So I would guess what they mean better than a person from a different country. So I think that it just helps you improve better, more efficiently with your mistakes, because with person from other background, they would never guess what you meant if you read certain letters, for example, if you mispronounce certain words in like for me, for a Polish person, they would speak certain words with Polish pronunciation. So me being Polish, I know how I would read it in Polish, this English word. So I would guess what they mean. But with person from another country, they wouldn't know how it's read in Polish. Uh, I don't know how to put it better. I think that you guess what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone, just use a Spanish person example again, if there are two people from Spain and they're speaking English, they might be trying to explain something and say something, and a Spanish person might understand because of I don't know the way that they're speaking or the mistake, but someone from a different country might not understand, so they're kind of like forced to explain it in a different way, or it challenges you as a listener maybe a little bit more.
It doesn't allow you to make these shortcuts, like
Yes.
the understanding that you
Got it.
can make with someone from the same, like with the same background, the same native language.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the accents? Because some people, get scared about accents. Sometimes in our group calls, there are people from all over the world, and the idea of that might be scary for some people because, like you said about the shortcuts, you're going to understand a Polish person speaking English better than someone from a different country, like
Mm-hmm.
more likely. So should people be scared of joining online groups and calls because of different accents, or do you think it's beneficial for your overall listening skills? What do you think?
I think that's absolutely beneficial for your listening skills and for the main purpose of learning another language. I think that this is very. I don't think this belief can be challenged really. That the main reason why we learn another language is just to communicate with other people, and like whatever it means, whatever reason we need to communicate with them. It's always to be able to communicate or to like receive some information in general. So if so, we need to learn like to listen not only the clearest possible accent or like the very native accent that or accents that there are, because there is so many people coming from other countries who also speak English with their accents, and their accents may be more difficult to understand, but at the same time, what they have to say is often very, very interesting, very valuable. So why to close um, those opportunities? Like why to not to use it? I think that it's best to understand as many people as possible, and it's good to like work on your pronunciation to be understood by others very well. But at the same time, I think that it's good to learn more, like learn to understand other people, even if their pronunciation is not perfect, so you can communicate with them.
Totally. Yeah. And what about like accountability and showing up? Because, for example, imagine you said to someone on Tuesday, "I'll see you in the group call on Thursday," and he gets to Thursday, you might be a little bit tired. If you're learning English by yourself, you might, skip the session. But when
Mm,
you're learning with other people, you feel like you want to see people, you want to show up. Have you had that experience? Is it is
yeah,
it is it kind of
absolutely.
like more fun, or maybe you feel a little bit more accountable to show up and try? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that yeah, I have this experience definitely of I don't know if I would call it accountability. To me, it was just
Yep.
the joy of like being part of a community.
Hmm.
Uh, so you interact with people, you make friends, you connect with people, like of many people, and there is so many like-minded people all over the world that you wouldn't meet. Uh, if you don't speak English or another language, you wouldn't be able to meet with them and know them. So I think that it's very valuable to make these connections and discover people that you connect well and like vibe with very well. Uh, and just this joy of being able to communicate with them, I think that it gives a lot of fuel to your motivation just to show up and like be there present and continue interacting with them, and it just transforms to the amount of effort and time that you put into your learning, because this is the side effect of interacting with those people then in the community. You enjoy interacting with them, and the side effect is that you are improving your English.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying it, you're more likely to do it, and the more that you do it, the better you'll get. So yeah, it's kind of like funny sometimes to think about it, that I'm helping people improve their English by speaking to them in English, because a lot of our group calls inside the community are just conversations and discussions around things that I would actually speak about in my native language. Maybe not like as set up or as forced. Like I don't go to the pub with my friends with a set of
List
five
of questions.
questions. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. Sometimes I will, sometimes there will be an interesting conversation or discussion or question that we've discussed in the community recently, and I'll like ask my girlfriend what her opinion is, or like I'll ask some of my
Yeah.
friends just to see what they say. But yeah, it's funny that the like this is helping people improve their English, because we're focusing on just using English for the thing that you just said, which is just communicating our ideas and what we think and what we feel and our experiences. And yeah, people really just kind of like lose that aspect of it, and they just think English is, grammar to learn, vocabulary to learn, and it's just about kind of understanding that and you'll be fine. But really, it's just about communication, sharing ideas, understanding other people, and other people understanding you to the best of both your abilities. It's not always easy, even in your native language. But that's the benefit of it. It can be more fun. It can be more interesting. You meet great people, and like you said, it is interesting speaking to people from around the world. And there are so many people who we've met over the 2 years from countries that I will never visit, probably, unfortunately. Like, I'd love to visit all the countries in the world, but realistically, am I going to go to Uzbekistan? Not sure. Sorry, David. But it's been great to meet people from different countries all around the world, and get to kind of like just understand what life is like for them and what life is like for the average Joe in their country. What is life like in Ecuador for normal people? But I wouldn't stumble upon that information online. I'd have to go out of my way to find that. But in an online community, you do meet people from all around the world, and it's really fun, interesting, just to learn more about their individual lives and also just what life is like in their country. So that's kind of been the best part for me is making friends first and foremost. Like, it's actually nice. Like, I enjoy my work. Like, I get to hang out with people that I would hang out with in real life. Maybe one day we can do an offline hangout session, be like a group call, but not a call. But we'll see. Yeah, it's been really fun. And another benefit of joining an online community, or communities plural, is that you have loads of opportunities to practice speaking online with like different groups of people. It doesn't even need to be through the community itself, because inside the community you will find friends that are other English learners, and you can just message them to see if you want to kind of hang out once a week and chat in English. Like we said before, you probably don't know each other's native language, so you're forced to speak English, and getting into that habit of speaking English more is probably the best thing about online English communities, because if you do want to improve your English, speaking English is usually the thing that people struggle with the most, and the way to get better at speaking English is doing it more often. And that's why people usually aren't that good at speaking English, is because they're not doing it enough. So getting more practice is the central kind of like idea that most people need to take on in order to improve. Is just practice more, use English more, speak English more, but you need to find those places to do it. Now, you can hire a tutor, and if you're happy to spend that money, then you can do. But, you know, if you're going to meet a tutor 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, you know, that bill is going to add up quite quickly. Now, if you live in England, I'm sure you can find loads of ways to speak English regularly. You just go outside and start speaking to people. You might annoy your neighbors trying to have a 3-hour-long conversation in the street, but you'll find loads of opportunities. But if you live in a village in Poland, how often do you hear people speak English around you, Anna? How many opportunities do you think there are to speak English with people on a regular basis where you live?
Known. I think that's
Okay.
known. I know that in my city, well, I live in a village, but it's like half an hour to get to the city center, like of Poznań, where I used to live before. And there are some international communities where I could go and like talk with people. And it's kind of fun, but it takes time to get there always. It takes money to pay to leave my car in the city center, unfortunately. So personally, I prefer those online meetings. And like the big difference between meeting people for the sake of meeting people and like having a tutor is that meeting with people puts this practice into like very real life perspective, and it's more like interacting with another person than just learning. And I remember when for the first time I experienced this, that I forgot completely that I'm speaking in another language. And I just was in the flow of like discussion, and I completely forgot that I'm speaking in English. And it was very it was such a realization that I can just completely forget that I'm speaking English.
It stops becoming like something formal, or an obligation, or work, or a chore, or something like this, and just becomes fun.
Mm, yeah, it's like a real experience, not like being in a classroom and interacting with a teacher. It's like real life interaction with another person. So then it makes the whole experience very different. And I think that this is I would say that was very rewarding experience, and it felt like reaching some kind of goal, that I'm able to express myself in another language and not even think about it.
Yeah. If you were if you're learning how to play the guitar and you have guitar lessons, that's going to feel like an obligation, like a chore, maybe work, something that you have to do, something you do at the same time each week. But if one of your friends just said, "Hey, do you want to come around and we'll jam?" You know, if you have your friends come around together and you just play music, that sounds, you know, fun. And even though you're still learning, you're practicing. Or if you were learning how to, I don't know, be a better cook, and you went to cooking lessons, you might need cooking lessons at the start to learn the basics. But if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to come around and we'll make some pizzas?" Like, that sounds better. than going to a cooking lesson.
Mm.
I'm seeing how far I can stretch this analogy. I was going to say like video games, but I don't know how many people have video games tutor.
I would compare it to dancing, really.
Dancing.
Dancing
Okay.
when you learn some steps at the beginning, if there is a like certain dance style, or like you learn some steps, you learn how to adapt to the beat, to the music, to the rhythm. And at some point you are so far in the learning that you don't really have to think much of like what steps you are going to take next, or like what moves you want to perform. You just flow with the music, and like your body acts very spontaneously. So I think that it's pretty much the same or very similar experience like with like speaking another language, when you get to the point where you are in the flow and you just don't really have to think of like how to translate certain words, or like about the definitions and things about the tenses. When you start to feel it like more intuitively, it makes it very different.
Also, another thing is that in a community, you'll meet lots of new people and there'll be new faces all the time. And lots of people, when they are speaking English or a foreign language, they get kind of it. They're usually a little bit nervous or scared or anxious the first time they're speaking to someone new. And let's say they have a tutor. The first class, they might be a little bit nervous. Oh, haven't spoke to this person in English before. Then second, third, fourth class, they get a little bit more comfortable until they're very comfortable and they're speaking fine. They're not nervous. They're not scared. They're used to it. And then they go out into the real world and they have to speak English at work and they're like, whoa, scary. With an online community, there are lots of different people, lots of new people. So you get used to speaking to new people. And Anna, when you speak to new people now inside the community in a group call, you don't look nervous. You look quite relaxed. You're like, you. It's like you're the one of the experienced ones. Like, oh, especially if they're new, it's almost like you are comfortable and you're almost like in a welcoming role now, which is nice to see. But it wouldn't have always been like that, would it? You would have been nervous about speaking to new
Yeah,
people in English.
yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice when this transition uh, happened, but that's true that currently I don't feel nervous whatsoever, like meeting new people. I am only curious like who they are, where they come from, what's their story, what are their goals, and I'm trying to make the experience of this like first group call better for them.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, that's nice. And we've had some good times, haven't we? Lots of laughter,
mhm.
just a few misunderstandings they're always quite funny. But yeah, we've had a good time in those calls, and it's actually it's just nice, isn't it? Just like chatting to people regularly, people that you trust, people that you see as your friends. But yeah, it is good to speak to different people, broaden those horizons. But have you actually seen anyone improve in a community setting, Anna? What do you think? Is everyone just there for a good time and they're all friends, or have you actually seen people make serious progress with their English? What do you think?
What kind of question is it?
It's a loaded question.
Of course, of course. I've seen the people, a lot of. I would say that everyone that I happened to know for like a bit of time, you can see them improving. Uh, just when they like you can see the difference. Usually, people when they join, they are obviously a little bit nervous at the beginning, but you can tell that they struggle a little with expressing their thoughts. It may be a little bit of nervousness of being a new setting, but I think that just practice makes progress. So I think that. Sorry, what is it?
No, I just like that twist on the expression. It's usually practice makes perfect, but you've given it a little adjustment to practice makes progress, which I prefer
It's not
actually.
mine. It's not mine.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Sorry,
coined
I
that here
stole
and
it.
here and
I
there.
stole it from somewhere. I think that I was listening to some kind of like online course
Okay.
on. Can't remember what it was about really. I think that it was about just speaking better or something, like
Okay.
remembering things. So I should probably find it and link it somewhere, but it's not mine. Unfortunately, I didn't come up with this idea, but I really liked it because being a perfectionist myself, I would really like practice makes perfect. I think that it's a flawed idea in many ways because it's very difficult to make something really perfect. But it's great to just accept that progress is just a kind of transformation that takes time, and it's good to celebrate that maybe you're not perfect and it's still very good if you make the progress in time. And people make progress with time, definitely, if they join the calls regularly. You we had this reflection, you know, regularly, of like thinking about someone who joined a couple of months ago, and you would say, yeah, this person, can you remember how they struggled at the beginning, and now they are so confident with speaking, like answering questions, like very efficient with like explaining their point of view, like getting into a discussion and being very eager to just to speak. So I think that, yeah, so many people made great progress. I would say that everyone that like stayed in the community for at least a couple of months, I would say that they, all of them, has been making great progress.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a good, because when when someone has a tutor, sometimes they just see that tutor once a week, and a lot of the time they just think that's enough English to do to improve. But everyone kind of knows that if you want to learn a language, the best thing to do is immerse yourself in that language and move to that country. So if I want to learn Polish, where else would I go apart from Poland to learn that? Obviously, I can do that from the security of my own bedroom. But going to Poland would be better. But I have a girlfriend, I have a family, I have a dog to look after. I'm not going to move to Poland. I might go on holiday to
Mm,
Poland, but I'm not going to move to Poland just to learn a language. Some people do have that luxury. Some people are forced to move to a different country. Maybe they've got a job there, but you can learn a language from your own home, from your own country. And if you do have if you do join an online community, it's easier to immerse yourself in that language because you'll find loads of resources, loads of exercises, loads of opportunities to practice English, and loads of also people around you online who are willing to speak that language as well. So it's a really good way to immerse yourself in that language from
mm.
your bedroom.
Well, also you mentioned that it's best to move to, to the country of the language. So that's true. But we had quite a few people from English-speaking countries as well, and we do have, right? There are people from Australia, or where there are people from Canada, people who, like not from but living in those countries,
Oh, I see.
uh,
So people who have moved to these
who have
countries
moved,
but have
yes, to
still
those countries.
joined an online community.
Yes, still wanted
Yes,
to
you're right.
join, and it's pretty understandable, especially if they are like, I can understand why it's difficult to interact with locals if your English is not perfect. So, and also in a community, you can expect like people to maybe give you some guidance or correct your mistakes. So you are still in the, like, you are in interacting with real people, but you can still expect this like learning experience or getting feedback, things like this. And in real life, if you live in an English speaking country, I think that people are not very comfortable sometimes with their English if it's not, perfect. So yeah, I understand why they wanted to, and what they joined the online community to
Yeah,
practice English like in a more comfortable way.
100%. And I guess the context is different. If you move to England and you're in England and you're speaking English, it's not the context of I'm here, I'm practicing my English. It's I'm in the shop, I'm at work, I'm at this kind of appointment, and I'm having to use English to get by in my day-to-day life or at work. But when you join an online community for English learners, then the context is we're all here to learn English. So there is a little bit more leeway. People, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. People aren't going to judge you. People aren't going to, I don't know, say, I don't know. It's just different. It's just a different situation,
You're
different
in the same
context.
boat in
Yeah,
a
you're in the same
community.
boat. Yeah. And speaking in a different language in a different country can be quite stressful. Like even just like everyday tasks, which would be so easy, so simple, so straightforward in your native language, just become difficult when you're at the checkout and they're asking you questions about discount codes or I don't know memberships, and you're like,
What is
"What?
it?
I have no idea what you're saying to me." And that just like repeated, like that as a moment is not the end of the world, but that stacked for days
Mm-hmm.
and days and days and days and days and weeks and months can really get to you. So being in a safe space where everyone's in the same boat, like you said, it's a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more relaxing. So I haven't got anything else to share on the benefits of learning English or a language in an online community. Can you think of anything else, Anna, before we finish?
Mm. I think that we touched the most important aspects. Human connection is like top of my list.
Yep.
Making friends, meeting people, and just making it enjoyable.
Yeah, they're
So
making it more fun, making it more enjoyable, and the more fun and enjoyable it is, more interesting it's going to be. The more likely you're going to do it, and the more that you do it, the better you'll get. So
true,
pretty
true.
simple, really, isn't it?
Quite simple, very effective.
True. Okay. Thank you for listening to another episode, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye bye.